God's chosen ones, God is putting you in incubation for your safety, for days. Have you been feeling strangely tired, disconnected, or like you're being pulled out of your normal rhythm, and you can't explain why? Could it be that what you're calling confusion is actually a divine interruption? Stop scrolling. This is not just a message, it's a divine interception. If your spirit has felt strange lately, disconnected, heavy, restless, it's because heaven has placed a seal over your schedule. You're not being lazy. You're being hidden by God, pulled into divine incubation for your own safety. The warfare around you has intensified beyond what your natural eyes can see, and the only thing standing between you and total spiritual exhaustion is this sacred shutdown. What feels like delay is actually divine preservation. What looks like stillness is actually strategy from the throne room. Chosen one, you are being removed from noise so heaven can do something precise inside you. Before we go deeper, do something prophetic. Drop 777 in the comments right now if you felt this holy pull to step away, to rest, to disconnect from the world's pace. That's not weakness, that's divine direction. Your incubation is not punishment, it is proof that you are marked. God only hides what He's preparing to unleash in power. The silence you feel is not absence, it is incubation. And to everyone who has poured into this ministry through super thanks, thank you from the depths of my soul. You're not just giving, you're partnering with heaven to spread prophetic truth to those who need it most. Your support is helping chosen ones around the world recognize their divine turning point. You're planting seeds into sacred soil, and I bless you for it. Now listen closely. God has issued a command over your life. Be still for days. Not because you're broken, not because you're falling behind, but because He's pulling you out of time itself to protect what is growing in you. The next few days will feel like sleep, like slowness, but in the spirit, something powerful is being secured. What's about to happen isn't exhaustion, it's elevation. Your nervous system is being told, be still, I'm healing you at the root. This is not burnout, it's spiritual surgery, and if you try to resist it, you may delay the very breakthrough you've been praying for. So stay here, don't scroll away, because in the next moments, I'm going to show you what's really happening behind the scenes of your stillness, and why your entire destiny is being protected right now, even while it looks like nothing is moving. God's chosen ones, God is putting you in incubation for your safety, for days. You are not being delayed. You are being delicately placed into divine incubation, God's intentional cocoon of restoration, reinvention, and revelation. It may feel like your life has paused, but heaven is moving with breathtaking precision. What you're experiencing is not an interruption, it's a holy recalibration. You are being ushered into a sacred stillness so potent it defies explanation, both spiritual and scientific. Quantum physics tells us that in silence, atoms realign and systems return to equilibrium. And right now, your soul is undergoing the same process. Have you ever wondered why your strength failed you at the exact moment your breakthrough seemed near? Why your body, once full of ambition, now insists on stillness? Could it be that what looks like burnout is actually divine anesthesia? This is not laziness. This is lockdown, holy lockdown, the kind heaven orchestrates when your inner world needs more than rest. It needs resurrection. As Psalm 23, 2-3 declares, He makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. You didn't choose to stop. God made you lie down. Like a fetus curled within a womb, you are being formed again, not in the public eye, but beneath layers of divine silence. You're not backing away from your calling, you're being pulled deeper into the sacred forge of destiny. Every cell, every neuron, every belief system within you is being rewritten. Isaiah 64:8 reminds us, "Yet you, Lord, are our Father. We are the clay, you are the potter. We are all the work of your hand." That's not just poetic, it's your present reality. In this womb of stillness, you'll try to set alarms, but sleep will overtake you. You'll attempt to stretch, but your limbs will feel tethered by something holy. This is not depression, it's divine sedation. God has stationed angels around your bed, sealing you in a supernatural silence where heaven speaks in frequencies only your spirit can hear. For he gives his beloved sleep. Psalm 127 verse 2. And the moment you stir, the moment you try to rise too soon, your soul pulls you back under, like gravity rebuking flight. Why? Because the surgery is not done. What happens to a butterfly if the cocoon is cut too early? It dies underdeveloped. You are not dying, you are developing. Your stillness is your survival. What if this silence isn't abandonment, but protection? What if the distance you feel from people, plans, and purpose is not because you failed, but because God is shielding what's still sacred and raw within you? He who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Psalm 91:1. You've been hidden, not overlooked, guarded, not forgotten. Have you noticed how trees in winter look dead, yet their roots are expanding beneath the frozen soil? Or how eagles retreat into isolation to pluck out old feathers so they can soar again? You too are in a molting season. This isn't stagnation, it's sacred reconfiguration. And even in today's culture of constant productivity, heaven is not impressed by your grind. Pope Benedict XVI once said, "The world offers you comfort, but you were not made for comfort. You were made for greatness." Greatness is rarely born in noise. It's forged in hiddenness. Meanwhile, those who scoff at silence, like infamous showman Charles Ponzi, whose illusion of success was built on chaos and speed, eventually collapse under the weight of their own deception. His refusal to slow down and self-examine led to the destruction of thousands of lives and his own infamy. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. God is silencing outside voices so that for once you can hear his. Proverbs 3:5-6 assures you, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, and he shall direct your paths." This direction doesn't always come through action. Sometimes it comes through stillness. Have you felt a strange heaviness lately? Not one of sorrow, but of something weightier. That's not fatigue. That's the glory beginning to settle. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. 2 Corinthians 4:17. What you're feeling isn't burnout, it's build-up. Divine pressure before birthing. Mireille, a midwife in a war-torn village, once told a young woman, "Your pain is not failure, it's the womb announcing life." The child she helped birth later became a peacemaker who rebuilt orphanages across Rwanda. From pain came purpose, but only because stillness was honored. This is the same for you. You've been the strong one for so long, the protector, the provider, the planner. But now, heaven has declared, enough. God doesn't need your might right now. He needs your surrender. Your logic won't heal you. Your effort won't evolve you. Only his touch can do what time cannot. Do you dare stay still long enough to be transformed? Can you trust what you can't see more than what you can feel? Will you allow yourself to be hidden so heaven can complete its work uninterrupted? You're not missing out. You're being drawn inward while the world runs in circles. Don't be surprised if people start to wonder where you went. That's what happens when cocooned ones stop posting, stop chasing, and start listening. Because when you return, you won't just reappear, you'll re-emerge, healed, transformed, unrecognizable. Hiddenness is not rejection, it is divine selection. God always conceals what he deems priceless. And right now, chosen one, that's exactly what you are. Hidden not because you're forgotten, but because you're sacred. Heaven has shielded you in silence because what's growing inside you isn't ready for public exposure. Just as precious gems are formed in darkness under pressure, so are you being shaped in an atmosphere man cannot touch. The world is trembling, headlines scream, timelines overflow, everyone's chasing speed. But your instruction, be still, don't flinch, don't run. Why? Because stillness is not stagnation, it's sacred positioning. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. That's not just advice, it's your spiritual battle plan. Have you noticed how hard it is to sit still in a world that worships hustle? Why is silence so terrifying when chaos feels productive? Could it be because in silence you're no longer performing, you're being purified? While others crumble under the gravitational pull of urgency, you are being recalibrated. God is regulating your internal rhythms, resetting your circadian clock, rebalancing your hormonal flow, and stabilizing your cortisol levels without a single prescription. Psalm 46:10 speaks clearly, "Be still and know that I am God." This stillness is your altar now. Your obedience is no longer measured by activity, but by trust. This is not passivity. This is precision. And just like in classical architecture, where the tension of arches holds cathedrals together, your spiritual tension, the pull between go and wait, is what's building you into something unshakable. Think of the snow leopard. It's a majestic predator that often disappears for weeks, not because it's defeated, but because it's waiting for the exact moment to pounce. Its stillness is part of its strength. So is yours. There's no need to race the algorithm or perform for applause. As social media scrolls on, you're scrolling deeper into the presence of God. And while the world burns out trying to trend, you're tapping into a timeline untouched by trends. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Your wings are growing in silence. The late Maya Deren, a pioneer filmmaker and mystic thinker, once said, "The stillness of motion is not the absence of life, it's the presence of eternity." She understood what many forget. Stillness is not retreat, it's resurrection in slow motion. But contrast that with Bernie Madoff, former financier and infamous orchestrator of the largest Ponzi scheme in history. His relentless pace, obsession with image, and fear of stillness created a life built on illusion. And when it all collapsed, it did so catastrophically. His inability to slow down, spiritually or practically, destroyed him and devastated countless others. You, however, are not moving in circles. You are moving in spirals. Heaven's geometry, hidden progress. Don't confuse hiddenness with delay. You are not behind. You are aligned. Isn't it mysterious how time behaves strangely lately? Minutes stretch like molasses, yet hours evaporate. Why does your body no longer respond to alarms, but awakens to silence? Why do days feel surreal, like heaven is bending time? That's because you've stepped into Kairos, a realm where God's timing overrides man's. In this realm, earthly clocks lose meaning. Revelation 10:6 speaks of this reality. There will be no more delay. You are not paused. You're in prophetic motion, just invisible to those without spiritual sight. And while others are aging under the sun of anxiety, you are being restored under the cloud of glory. Cells are reviving. Spirit is resetting. God is reversing the entropy that pressure tried to impose. Job 33:25 promises, "Let his flesh become fresh with youth. Let him return to the days of his youthful vigor." That's happening for you now, in silence. Once, in a hidden part of Ireland, a young girl named Siobhan went into a coma after a traumatic loss. Doctors gave up. Her mother refused to. She played worship music by her bedside daily. Weeks passed, no change. But one day Siobhan opened her eyes, whispered scripture, and soon after returned fully healed. Her brain scans later revealed spontaneous cellular regeneration. No one could explain it, but the Spirit knew. In stillness, God had worked beyond medicine. God is doing the same in your life. While your hands feel idle, angels are active. While your to-do list collects dust, heaven is rearranging your destiny. Philippians 4:7 says, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." That peace is now your atmosphere. You don't have to push, just breathe. God is opening doors no email could unlock. He's realigning relationships, rekindling forgotten promises, reviving buried dreams. Those who once dismissed you are whispering your name. Resources are relocating. Contracts are calling. But your instruction remains. Don't move until I say move. Can you trust that peace is more powerful than panic? Can you rest while others rush? Can you believe that your stillness is working harder than your striving ever did? This is where miracles begin, in the motionless space where heaven overrides hustle. When you emerge, you'll do so with strategies you didn't learn, favor you didn't fight for, and strength you didn't sweat for. This is the realm of divine reset. You are not retreating, you are being refined. In this realm, God's whisper is mightier than the world's roar. Here's the most radical truth. You are not lifting a finger, and yet everything is moving. You are about to taste the miracle of being blessed without burnout, promoted without politicking, advanced without exhaustion. For years, you've equated productivity with proof. You believed rest was risky, and that hustle was holy. But God is now untangling that lie from your nervous system and reteaching you the law of supernatural provision. Not through pressure, but through presence. What if your next breakthrough isn't earned, but entrusted? What if the favor coming isn't a reward for striving, but a response to stillness? This season is not about grinding to get ahead. It's about surrendering to be lifted. Your sleep has become your seed. Your stillness is sowing the soil of unseen harvests. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for he grants sleep to those he loves. Psalm 127, verse 2. While your hands rest in obedience, heaven's hands are rearranging blueprints, signatures, partnerships, and inheritances that have your name on them. Contracts are being drawn in boardrooms you've never stepped into. Bank systems are being rewritten in your favor. The economy around you may be shaking, but the soil beneath your promise is stabilizing. You fought hard for every dollar. But survival is not your identity anymore. God is ushering you into a frequency of divine abundance. This isn't hustle-induced wealth. This is favor-funded overflow. And it's not only your finances He's healing. There are relationships that tore through your soul, connections you wept over, fasted for, and finally surrendered. While you lay in consecrated silence, heaven has begun softening hearts that once wounded you. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. The beauty? You're not the one sending apologies. You're not drafting messages or begging for closure. You're being repositioned while He orchestrates reconciliation. Could it be that healing doesn't always begin with conversation, but with consecration? What if your silence is speaking louder than words ever could? God is delivering clarity to people who once misunderstood your mission. Old friends are seeing you through the lens of heaven now, not the lens of history. Family members who only remembered your failures are being shown your future. Even adversaries are having their tongues tied by truth. When a man's ways please the Lord, he makes even his enemies to be at peace with him. Proverbs 16:7. As a forest regenerates after wildfire through still, undisturbed soil, so are your relational roots re-emerging through rest. And you didn't have to touch a thing. No manipulation, no performing, just surrender. Don't go back to knock on doors God already shut. Don't chase connections He's replacing. You are in the holy pause, and God is repainting the canvas behind you. He's restoring more than you know. And what feels like silence is actually sacred construction. Have you noticed how tired your soul had become? Not in age, but in wear. Emotional erosion, psychological weathering, the unspoken trauma of being the strong one every day. That quiet exhaustion. God saw it. He didn't ignore it. He responded. And now, something unprecedented is happening. You are not just recovering. You are being regenerated on a cellular level, on a spiritual frequency, on a molecular vibration. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Psalm 23, verse 3. Your body is catching up to the healing your spirit received in silence. Neuroplasticity, the scientific miracle where the brain rewires itself, is happening right now. Hormones are stabilizing. Inflammation is decreasing. Skin is clearing. Laughter is softening again. Joy is returning not as a moment, but as a biochemical state. Dr. Caroline Leaf, a cognitive neuroscientist, once said, "Your mind changes your brain and your body. God has wired you for renewal, not decay." That's exactly what you're living. But consider this. Contrast your healing with the downfall of Anna Sorokin, a con artist who posed as a wealthy heiress. Her relentless need to control narrative and manipulate relationships led to prison. Her soul aged under the weight of the lie she carried. But you are aging backward under grace. In an old countryside village, a man named Elias locked himself away after his wife passed. Villagers thought he lost his mind. In truth, he spent his nights weeping, praying, letting God unravel decades of fear. One day, he returned, not broken, but glowing. He became the village's quiet healer. No one could explain the transformation, but everyone felt it. You are becoming that mystery. You'll rise from this divine rest with eyes clearer than memory, posture straighter than pride, a voice steadier than ambition, and people will say, "Something about you feels different." They won't know what changed, but you will. It wasn't just your skin, it was your spirit. Your peace will radiate like perfume. Your presence will be rest for others. Why? Because you touched eternity. You didn't hustle for this glow. You surrendered for it. This isn't cosmetic, it's cosmic. What's happening inside you isn't surface level. It's supernatural science in motion. You're not just being soothed, you're being rewired. Your entire mental ecosystem, down to the cellular frequencies that carry thoughts, traumas, and truth, is under divine reconstruction. Your mind has long been a battlefield, racing thoughts like stampedes, looping anxieties like haunted records, and background fear like white noise you couldn't mute. But in this sacred stillness, heaven is reaching into your neural architecture, not with judgment but with mercy, not with force but with frequency. Could it be that the anxiety you thought was you was just an outdated script waiting to be rewritten? Could it be that panic was never your identity, just a symptom of old programming? While you surrender in sleep, God is gently disconnecting the panic switches you couldn't find on your own. The inner critic that always shouted, "You're not enough," silenced. The trauma triggers that hijacked your joy, dissolved. The internal replay reel of betrayal, abandonment, and shame, deleted from the spiritual hard drive. Romans 12:2 confirms this exact work. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. This isn't theory, this is spiritual neurology, and as this divine download continues, something extraordinary begins. You wake up different. Peace takes the place where panic used to sleep. Creative clarity rises like the sun before your thoughts even gather. And the best part, you didn't force it, you received it. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to the discerning. Daniel 2:21. Wisdom is coming while you rest. This isn't therapy, it's transfiguration. You're not just feeling better, you're thinking differently. A renewed mind is the foundation for a restored life. You'll begin to solve problems without overthinking. You'll perceive what used to confuse you. Patterns will break and new pathways will form, because heaven has touched your brain, your beliefs, your behaviors. In the field of cognitive neuroscience, this would be classified as synaptic pruning, the process where your brain lets go of old connections to form new ones, and that's exactly what's happening, not through effort, through rest. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. God is doing in your stillness what striving never could. You're stepping out of man's calendar and into God's dimension. No more deadline anxiety, no more shame from missed milestones, no more pressure of should have happened by now. You are being lifted from Chronos, clock time, into Kairos, God's eternal rhythm. In this dimension, time is not your enemy, it's heaven's tool. Isn't it wild that the thing you feared, slowness, is now the setting for your acceleration? Have you realized how much emotional weight you've been carrying in the name of productivity? How many birthdays you counted like warnings instead of wonders? How many people you compared yourself to while heaven was preparing your own unmatched journey? Now, God is whispering, I'm not in a hurry, and neither should you be. He's breaking the psychological bondage of comparison, rushing, and regret. While others panic, you'll pause. While others hustle, you'll hover in rest. Because you've entered a realm where time no longer governs your purpose. God does. Ecclesiastes 3:11 says, He has made everything beautiful in its time. You are right on time. Thomas Merton, the contemplative monk and philosopher, once wrote, To be grateful is to recognize the love of God in everything. And in this season, the very delay you resented will be seen as the design you needed. But not everyone learns this truth. Take the tragic rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes, once hailed as the next Steve Jobs. Her desperation to deliver prematurely led to fraud, collapse, and imprisonment. Her refusal to wait for real development cost lives and legacy. Impatience corrupted her calling. You, however, are doing the opposite. You are letting God build you slow, deep, and real. And here's the mystery. Your body may still be in bed, but your spirit is traveling dimensions. You're crossing thresholds your intellect can't name. Call to me, and I will answer you, and will tell you great and hidden things that you have not known. Jeremiah 33:3. Right now, you are in the presence of the architect himself. Downloads are arriving, strategies, designs, insights. You may not remember the dreams, but you will feel the afterglow. Just like how astronauts return from orbit different, your spirit, having visited the throne room, now carries information, vibration, and fire that didn't come from this world. Danya, a reclusive sculptor, used to sleep during the day and work by moonlight. Villagers thought she was mad, but every morning new pieces appeared, breathtaking, prophetic, layered with divine symmetry. When asked how, she'd only say, I dream in instructions. You're becoming that sculptor. You're dreaming in divine data. You'll wake up one morning with a plan no professor taught, a solution no consultant offered, an idea too perfect to be human. For the Lord gives wisdom, from his mouth come knowledge and understanding. Proverbs 2:6. You're not just sleeping, you are crossing into clarity, into cosmic reprogramming, into purpose beyond your age, background, or logic. And when people see you again, they won't just notice a new glow, they'll sense a new government over your life. That quiet you feel, it's not absence, it's access. While your body rested, your soul walked with God. You were not asleep in the ordinary sense. You were being escorted into revelation, led into realms where divine instruction is whispered into your spirit like blueprints sealed with fire. You didn't drift off. You were called up into sacred counsel, into alignment, into transformation. Could it be that what you thought was unconsciousness was actually the most awake your soul has ever been? You weren't detached. You were in divine communion. This is how prophets are made. This is how world changers are forged. Not in the frenzy of performance, but in the furnace of surrender. Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Amos 3:7. This was your moment of divine briefing. This is not just sleep, it's sacred strategy. You've stepped into a spiritual boardroom where angels distribute assignments, and clarity comes not from striving, but silence. Your spirit is seated in heavenly places, and although your body may lie still, you are not passive. You are being activated. The old rhythm, the one that demanded constant reaction, endless responding, and emotional depletion, has now been interrupted by heaven. And while the world keeps spinning, you've been pulled into a higher orbit. This incubation isn't postponement. It's precision. Yes, it may last for days, maybe longer. The deeper the encounter, the longer the dwelling. The heaviness you feel isn't depression, it's divine descent. Heaven is pressing close. And what feels like separation from the world is really synchronization with the will of God. Have you felt that strange detachment from daily distractions? Your urge to scroll gone, your hunger for noise silenced, your interest in small talk dissolved. Could it be that God is detoxing your soul from a lifetime of external programming? You're not becoming antisocial, you're becoming spirit sensitive. My sheep listen to my voice, I know them, and they follow me. John 10:27. God is fine-tuning your hearing, not your outer ears, but the deep spiritual canal of your heart. The part of you that can catch whispers too holy for volume. This shutdown is a holy rewiring. It's not a pause, it's a purge. You're being cleared like a radio frequency, free from static. All the self-doubt, the second-guessing, the comparison traps, they're being silenced. Not through self-help, through surrender. Why? Because your next instructions are not casual. They're critical. They're not shouted. They're downloaded. And downloads don't happen in chaos. They require clean bandwidth. What's happening now is spiritual calibration. This is why you're no longer craving entertainment or distractions, why the voice of urgency no longer tugs at your chest, why even your goals feel paused. Heaven has you on a higher frequency, and the content you once consumed now seems hollow. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. Psalm 23, 2-3. Stillness isn't a suggestion, it's your current sanctuary. Author and mystic Howard Thurman once said, "There is in every person something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in herself." And that is what you're doing, finally tuning into your genuine self, stripped of performance, pretense, and pressure. Contrast this with Richard Nixon, a leader whose paranoia and inability to pause led to Watergate. His addiction to control, surveillance, and noise cost him his presidency and peace. Silence was his enemy, and it destroyed him. You, on the other hand, are learning to live in the whisper, to trust that stillness isn't stagnation, it's strategy. You may feel like you've stepped away from reality, but in truth, you've stepped into revelation. Your phone may go unanswered, your inbox may pile up, but heaven is working in a dimension far beyond deadlines. In this moment, The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things revealed belong to us. Deuteronomy 29:29. And what you're receiving now isn't information, it's impartation. Fiction mirrors this truth. In an ancient monastery high in the Dolomites, a monk named Lucien was once found lying motionless in his chamber for 3 days. Others thought him ill, but when he arose, he began transcribing sacred songs no one had ever heard, melodies that carried healing. The villagers who came near him said his presence felt like prayer made flesh. That's what's being birthed in you now. A fire is being lit in your eyes, a song is forming in your lungs, a spine is being straightened in your soul. The longer you remain, the deeper the instruction, the greater the silence, the more precise the strategy. This is not retreat, it is reconstruction. Isaiah 30:15 declares, "In repentance and rest is your salvation, in quietness and trust is your strength." You are now gaining more in your stillness than others gain in their hustle. God is not just removing distractions, He's sealing you off from detours. Every decision made too early, every door you might have opened in impatience, every opportunity you might have chased in fear. He is protecting you from all of it. You're not missing out, you're being matured in silence. And when you emerge, you won't be returning empty-handed. You'll carry blueprints, vision, clarity, language, and fire. The world will wonder where you've been, but heaven will know you've been in session. This isn't rest. This is divine surgery, a supernatural operation taking place deep within the blueprints of your soul. You aren't asleep, you are being reconstructed. Heaven has placed your spirit on its operating table, and the surgeon is God Himself. He is delicately removing toxins from your spiritual bloodstream, unseen blockages of self-doubt, subconscious sabotage, and old heartbreak that have silently restricted your expansion. Did you ever wonder why certain blessings felt delayed? Why cycles kept repeating? Why you couldn't break through even though you were doing everything right? Could it be that there were invisible scars still bleeding behind your victories? In this operation, God's tools are not steel, they're grace, love, mercy, and truth. He is performing a procedure that even the finest therapist, coach, or counselor couldn't reach. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. Ezekiel 36:26. And He's not just treating symptoms, He's healing the source. He's cutting away doubt and patching up belief. He's transplanting courage where fear made its home. He's rewiring your emotional reflexes. No longer will your default be anxiety, people-pleasing, or over-functioning. Your new baseline will be discernment, confidence, and serenity. Philippians 4:7 promises, "And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus." This isn't cosmetic, it's foundational. He's tearing down and rebuilding the inner architecture of how you think, feel, and respond. You're not falling apart, you're falling into alignment. You'll emerge not just awake, but aware. Stillness, which once felt suffocating, is now your safety net. Silence, which once sounded like punishment, is now the womb of power. This operation doesn't happen in daylight. It unfolds in the shadows of surrender, that sacred space between your will and God's wisdom. Can you sit still long enough to be remade? Can you trust the hand you can't see even when you don't feel Him? This is what happens when heaven puts you in holy anesthesia. Your systems are shutting down so your spirit can be recoded, and when you truly open your eyes again, it will feel like the whole earth shifted. The mirror will no longer show exhaustion, it will reflect radiance. You won't carry your old posture of pressure. You'll stand in calm authority, not because you learned it, but because God birthed it in you. There's a peace coming upon you that you didn't earn, a gravity in your voice that wasn't trained, a posture of power that no diploma can explain. Those who look to him are radiant, their faces are never covered with shame. Psalm 34, verse 5. This kind of transformation cannot be hidden. You'll enter rooms and atmospheres will adjust, not because of how loud you speak, but because of how deeply you've been with God. Do you realize the version of you that once craved validation, hustled for approval, and feared rejection no longer exists? That old version has been buried. You've been under construction, and now you've become the embodiment of breakthrough. Layla, a once restless entrepreneur, was forced to pause after losing everything. She withdrew, silent and unseen, for 7 months, but when she returned, she launched a movement that healed thousands. Her company? Not tech, not fashion, stillness, meditation spaces, guided silence, and sacred rest for burnout leaders. They called her a disruptor. She called herself rebuilt. Like Layla, you are being remade in silence. You've felt the frustration of not launching, of delayed promotion, of untapped potential. But here's the truth. God hasn't denied you. He's enlarging you. He's not procrastinating. He's strategizing. Isaiah 60:22 reminds you, when the time is right, I, the Lord, will make it happen. Before he gives you greater visibility, he's giving you greater weight. Before you speak to crowds, he's strengthening your soul's scaffolding. This delay is not rejection, it's resistance training. It's strength building in spiritual muscles no one else sees. Why do skyscrapers require months of groundwork before they rise? Because height without depth equals collapse. Take Enron as a cautionary example, a corporate giant built on shallow ethics and unsustainable speed. Their collapse was swift, public, and devastating. When the roots are weak, success becomes a time bomb. But you are being engineered in private, deeply, intentionally. What the world sees as stillness is actually structural reinforcement. You're not standing still, you're being secretly strengthened. Psalm 18:33 declares, "He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights." But before he lifts you, he must stabilize you. Before he hands you keys, he secures your identity. This delay is building your emotional boundaries, sharpening your discernment, expanding your vision. And once it's finished, nothing will shake you, because your foundations have been forged in fire. Even your delay is divine. You asked, "Why not yet?" But heaven answers, "Because I'm making sure what's next doesn't crush you." God is preparing you for longevity, not flashes. You're not being passed over. You're being prepared to carry weight without breaking. Take Nelson Mandela, for example, not the freedom icon we now admire, but the man who spent 27 years in prison, hidden from public view, misunderstood, underestimated, and out of the spotlight. To the world, it looked like delay, but to heaven, it was design. God wasn't just preparing his voice, he was fortifying his soul. When Mandela emerged, he didn't return bitter, he returned built. With spiritual gravity, with moral clarity, with the kind of depth that only silence can sculpt, and because of that, he carried peace into power, not charisma into chaos. You are being shaped in silence the same way. What the world sees as stillness is actually structural reinforcement. You're not standing still, you're being secretly strengthened. Psalm 18:33 declares, "He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He causes me to stand on the heights." But before he lifts you, he must stabilize you. Before he hands you keys, he secures your identity. This delay is building your emotional boundaries, sharpening your discernment, expanding your vision, and once it's finished, nothing will shake you, because your foundations have been forged in fire. The next door isn't just big, it's blessed. And because of that, it requires a version of you with fortified lungs, expanded faith, and upgraded discernment. What you're walking into will not tolerate the weight of your old wiring. So God is using this stillness, this sacred stretch of silence, not to stall you, but to strengthen you for what your spirit is about to carry. Have you noticed that your normal energy for movement has slowed, but your soul feels strangely aware, even alert? Could it be that what you mistook for delay is actually dimension shift? Every quiet hour is a download. Every day of stillness is another layer of spiritual musculature being added to your internal frame. This is not just preparation, it's transfiguration. But they who wait for the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. You're not waiting for the next level. You're becoming the person who can actually hold it. Everyone else seems to be sprinting. Promotions, platforms, applause, metrics, movement. But your timeline looks like it's stuck. What if their speed isn't your standard? What if your path was never meant to be horizontal but vertical? What if what you're hearing isn't emptiness, but the pressure change of altitude? You're not stagnant. You're being separated, because elevation always involves exclusion. Come up here, and I will show you what must take place after this. Revelation 4:1. That's not just an invitation. It's a pulling, and it costs. Fewer can breathe where you're going. The oxygen of public approval gets thin the higher you rise. You're being trained to live in thin air, the atmosphere where most don't have the stamina to survive, let alone build. This is why your spiritual metabolism is changing. Your cravings are shifting. What once fed you now feels hollow. What once comforted you now feels counterfeit. You're learning how to breathe glory, not gossip. Wisdom, not noise. Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things. Colossians 3:2. This is divine conditioning. Take Frida Kahlo, the brilliant Mexican artist. After enduring a near-fatal accident, she was immobilized for months, trapped in stillness. And yet, in that silence, she painted her most profound prophetic work. Her pain became her palette. Her stillness became her signature. She didn't run with the crowd. She carved her own atmosphere. Now compare that to Adam Neumann, the former CEO of WeWork, who sprinted ahead with charisma and hype, but lacked internal integrity. His refusal to slow down, submit to wise counsel, or build with depth led to one of the most public collapses in startup history. Vision without spiritual structure is a recipe for implosion. He mistook altitude for momentum and lost everything in thin air. And then there's Marie, a high school music teacher from Ohio. She never wrote a book, never launched a brand, but during a 3-month sabbatical forced by burnout, she turned off her phone, prayed every day at dawn, and spent her nights journaling scripture and sitting in silence. When she returned, she didn't just go back to class. She became a catalyst. Her students stopped dropping out. Teenagers started confiding in her. Revival quietly began in her music room. Why? Because she had been with God. Stillness gave her power that programs could not. You're not being slowed down. You're being tuned to a frequency that demands fewer distractions and deeper obedience. Your lungs are expanding in silence to handle the glory density of where you're headed. And with that elevation comes the heartbreak of endings. There are places, people, habits, some even sacred to your memory, that God is now closing for you because you couldn't close them yourself. He's not angry. He's protecting you from emotional erosion. And while it hurts, He knows that sentimental attachment to expired assignments will choke your capacity to breathe in new spaces. Have you asked yourself why it hurts so much to lose something that no longer serves you? Could it be that part of you mistook comfort for covenant? God is breaking soul ties, not just friendships. He's detaching you from the false security that once masqueraded as identity. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, He takes away. John 15:2. And though it feels like rejection, it's redirection. He's closing doors that became too small for the blueprint He's building inside you. This isn't punishment, it's preservation. And yes, you'll miss what once felt safe. You'll grieve what you outgrew, but eventually you'll realize God isn't just pruning your outer life. He's recalibrating your spiritual loyalty. Sometimes, to protect your allegiance to heaven, God has to disrupt your allegiance to history. He's not asking you to explain it. He's not demanding closure. He's simply saying, "Trust me. What's next cannot be built on emotional debris." Can you let go of what once held you so tightly? Can you release the good to receive the greater? You're not just being elevated, you're being cleansed. Every breath in this silent stretch is purging your heart of the fragments you held onto, the memory loops, the recycled disappointments, the false timelines. God is freeing your hands from pieces so you can carry wholeness. And when you finally step into the blessed threshold He's preparing, you'll see why He had to do it this way. Because a fractured foundation can't support heaven-sized architecture. Let Him clear the room. Let Him sweep out the temporary voices, seasonal attachments, and expired assignments. Let Him remove the people who once filled your space but no longer feed your spirit. Their departure may sting, but it is not a sign of abandonment. It is evidence of alignment. What you feel now isn't collapse. It's construction. It's the sound of old bricks being broken so a new foundation can be poured. And Carl, when you see what God writes next on this clean slate, you'll wonder why you ever tried to cling to what was crumbling. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. You will. And when you do, you'll step into a life that finally matches the fire in your spirit. It won't feel like catching up. It'll feel like coming home. You've always been the strong one, the dependable one, the silent backbone of broken families, fragile systems, and struggling people. But let's be honest, strength has cost you something. It built walls around your heart. It taught you to suppress your needs and call it discipline. You became reliable to others, but unreachable to yourself. Have you ever asked yourself why your strength feels so lonely? Why helping everyone else leaves you hollow? You've performed strength for so long, you forgot what it feels like to simply be held. You know how to carry others, but not how to be carried. And now God wants to reverse the roles. God isn't condemning you for that strength. He's just showing you that what looked like power was really prolonged survival mode. And now He's dismantling that false armor, not to expose you, but to heal you. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. 2 Corinthians 12:9. You're not being stripped of dignity, you're being clothed in truth. And that truth is softer, safer, and far more sustainable than performance ever was. The strong version of you got you here, but the healed version of you will carry the mantle forward. The truth is, you never asked to carry that much. You just didn't think you had a choice. Now that you're in His hands, the performance can stop. The pretending can pause. The protector in you can exhale. You are not breaking down. You are being broken open. Inside the protective shell of performance lives a heart that longs for softness. And God is bringing that heart back to the surface. He's reaching the version of you that aches, that questions, that dreams of intimacy without exhaustion. That deep part of you deserves to be loved, not just tolerated. And this time you'll be loved without conditions, without negotiations, without needing to earn it. And here's the miracle. You don't have to prove anything. Not here. Not to Him. You can unravel. You can cry. You can collapse in His arms and still be completely loved. This isn't weakness. This is worship. This is what it means to be remade from the inside out. Psychology calls this trauma deactivation, where the nervous system finally comes out of high alert mode. That's what's happening to you. Your soul is no longer sprinting. Your fight-or-flight system is surrendering. And for the first time in years, your body is catching up with your heart's cry for rest. This isn't a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. And when the healing is deep, the rising is undeniable. What happens when the one who held everyone else together finally lets go? The answer is simple. God steps in. And when you rise again, you won't just be strong, you'll be whole. Not the hardened warrior, but the healed one. Not the unreachable pillar, but the honest, present, divinely realigned one. You'll finally walk into rooms and not feel like you have to hold the ceiling up. You'll finally breathe without bracing for the next storm. Your worth will no longer be measured by how much weight you can carry, but by how deeply you can rest in God. You learned to hustle before you learned to breathe. You were taught that your worth was tied to your output, that rest was weakness, and that slowing down meant falling behind. Somewhere along the way, survival started dressing itself as success. But now, the race is over. God has placed a divine stop sign in front of your striving, not as a punishment, but as a rescue mission. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Matthew 11:28. This is no longer optional, it's essential. Burnout is not your inheritance. Anxiety is not your anthem. And deep down, you know you can't live like this anymore. This is not a pause, it's a rescue. You were created for rhythms of rest, not rituals of relentless performance. Your soul was designed for Sabbath. And now, heaven is silencing the lie that your value comes from your volume. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. Psalm 23, 1-2. Sometimes the making comes through the laying down. And in this sacred laying down, you're discovering that your presence, not your productivity, is your real power. Stillness is no longer your enemy. It's your entrance into something eternal. Once your soul tastes this kind of grace, this unearned, uninterrupted, unconditional grace, you will never go back. You'll produce more with less. You'll move slower, but with more impact. Because you won't be powered by panic anymore, you'll be led by peace. That peace will walk into rooms before you do. It will anchor conversations and disarm atmospheres. You won't just be effective, you'll be holy. And the difference will be undeniable. And just when you thought you had it all mapped out, just when you were about to execute your next 5-year plan, everything shifted. The path disappeared. The people scattered. The clarity vanished. You look around and don't recognize the terrain. Does this mean you're lost? Not at all. You are being rerouted, not rejected. Realignment always feels like disorientation at first. You've stepped off the path you drew, but onto the path God designed. What looks like a detour is actually divine navigation. You had dreams, confirmations, vision boards, but now nothing matches. Familiar ground has turned to fog. And yet, this is God's design. A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Proverbs 16:9. The steps don't always look like the plan, but they always fulfill the promise. This is holy ground in disguise. And reroutes, when authored by heaven, always lead to restoration. You are not being denied. You are being deepened. Unlike cautionary tales like that of Jordan Belfort, who chased validation through vice and found emptiness in excess, you're being guided into something eternal. His crash came from ego. Yours will be a crossover into wholeness. Because you're not building an empire, you're becoming a sanctuary. And sanctuaries don't shake when the market shifts. They stand when everything else falls. And somewhere in the highlands of Ethiopia, a woman named Selam, once addicted to speed and validation, found healing through stillness. After losing everything, she began her days in complete silence, praying beside mountain springs. Months later, she opened a home for orphaned girls. No fame, no fanfare, just fruit born of rest. And her life became a testimony that stillness can resurrect what striving never could. What grew from her surrender now shelters others. That's what you're becoming now. Fruitful, not frantic. Rooted, not reactive. Whole, not for applause but for assignment. You're not just being reset, you're being reborn. And this time you'll rise not as the one the world shaped, but as the one heaven sanctified. You haven't been abandoned, you've been incubated. What you've mistaken as delay or silence is divine recalibration. God's chosen ones, you are not off course. You are in a heavenly holding pattern, circling above your next breakthrough until the runway is clear. It's protection, not punishment. In heaven's architecture, this is a structural pause, like a bridge under restoration, designed to carry more weight in the future than it ever has before. What if the silence you're experiencing is not empty, but sacred? Could it be that the detour you're on is not a deviation, but a divine deviation, one orchestrated with surgical precision? In physics, resonance cannot occur without a temporary stillness. A moment of alignment must precede every release of frequency. This is where you are now, not lost, but tuned. You may feel like you're wandering, but in spiritual physics, what looks like chaos is often a hidden system of order. God is not taking you through the shortcut. He's walking you through the scenic route. Why? Because this journey is about more than arrival. It's about collection, of discernment, of spiritual stamina, of heavenly wisdom. These are not things you would have absorbed in a rush, as it is written. For the vision is yet for an appointed time. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not delay. Habakkuk 2:3. You are not in delay, you are in divine delay. The detour is destiny in disguise. You keep trying to retrace old maps, but have you realized that terrain has shifted, that the landmarks have moved? The path that once held your promise has served its season. You're now walking through uncharted land because you're becoming an uncharted person. Just as the Israelites followed the cloud by day and fire by night, you too must follow a spiritual compass, not a logical one. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. God is not confusing you. He's deconstructing your linear logic and replacing it with prophetic perception. Life is not a straight line. It's a spiral staircase, lifting you higher through mystery, not maps. Have you noticed how caterpillars must dissolve into genetic goo inside a chrysalis before they fly? You are in that same incubation, not dead but dissolving the false. God is rewriting the ending of your story in the silence. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Stillness isn't absence, it's revelation. He's removing your dependency on performance so that your power can emerge from purity. The world hasn't heard your real voice yet, the one anointed to shift rooms, shatter illusions, and resuscitate dead places. But before it emerges in fire, it must pass through silence. Just as Isaiah had his lips touched by a coal from the altar, Isaiah 6, you too are undergoing divine purification. Then said I, Woe is me, for I am undone. Then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal, and he laid it upon my mouth. Isaiah 6:5-7. God is burning away the survival-based speech you've learned. Speech laced with wounds, validation-seeking, and people-pleasing. Have you wondered why you feel the urge to speak less lately? Why your voice seems like it's retreating? That's not weakness, that's preparation. The Holy Spirit is recalibrating your frequency. In acoustics, every instrument must first be tuned before it's ready to fill a concert hall. God is tuning your voice to match His authority. The Sovereign Lord has given me a well-instructed tongue to know the word that sustains the weary. Isaiah 50:4. Your voice will no longer echo insecurity. It will vibrate with divine clarity. And when that voice returns, it won't whisper in fear. It will thunder in freedom. You'll speak as one who has been through fire, not as a victim of it. You'll carry a mantle like Jeremiah, who tried to remain silent but declared, His word was in my heart like a burning fire shut up in my bones. I could not hold it in. Jeremiah 29. You will no longer suppress truth to keep peace. You will speak and shift principalities. Me tell you about Naomi Vega, a reclusive poet who survived the death of her husband and child in a car accident. She stopped speaking publicly for 6 years, but in silence she journaled, pages filled with divine downloads. When she finally returned to the stage, her words healed a woman in the crowd who was on the verge of suicide. The voice she birthed in isolation saved a soul. Contrast that with Everett Vance, a high-profile media mogul who refused to step away when God was clearly calling him into rest. He stayed on stage when God was calling him into stillness. The results? Scandal, collapse, and public shame. He confused activity with authority and lost both. Take Elias Mendez, a quiet janitor from a small Texas town. For 18 years, he worked nights cleaning the same school hallways, unseen and uncelebrated. After a deep betrayal from his church community, where he was falsely accused and stripped of his small role as a prayer leader, he stopped speaking altogether, not out of bitterness, but out of surrender. For 3 years, he prayed in silence while sweeping floors, fasting during lunch breaks, and journaling quietly in the maintenance room. Most believed he had lost his passion. What they didn't know was that heaven had placed him under divine incubation. One night, when a student collapsed in the hallway from a heart condition, Elias was the only one nearby. He knelt beside the child, placed his hand over his chest, and, without thinking, began to pray. The boy's heartbeat stabilized before the ambulance arrived. Witnesses said they felt a presence in the air, thick and holy. Later, Elias would say, I thought I had lost my voice, but it was being purified in secret. When it came back, it came with power. Why do trees shed their leaves in winter, even when they look alive on the outside? Because dormancy is their survival mechanism. You're in a spiritual winter, not because you're dying, but because you're being preserved. The sap of your anointing is retreating inward, so your roots can grow deeper. And what you produce after this will not be seasonal. It will be eternal. You're not losing your voice. You're learning its true tone. It won't speak from trauma anymore, but from transformation. Your voice will carry frequencies that break chains in others, not just you. It will become a generational key. Final question. When your voice comes back, and it will it serve applause or assignment? Will it echo culture or carry heaven? They called it isolation, but heaven called it incubation. You were not benched, you were set apart. God's chosen one, this isn't rejection, it's redirection into a hidden room designed by God's own architecture. He placed you there so he could whisper without interference, rebuild what noise distorted, and teach you the cadence of heaven. It's the room behind the veil, the one only those marked for deeper things are ever invited into. But what if the silence was the syllabus? What if being unseen was the strategy? Why do we panic when heaven goes quiet? Could it be we've been addicted to noise, not truth? Every prophet, every reformer, every carrier of divine weight went through it. Before David wore the crown, he dwelled in the cave. Before Esther changed a nation, she sat in waiting, hidden for 12 months of purification. And Jesus himself, Son of the living God, spent 30 years in obscurity before 3 years of visible ministry. And the child grew and became strong. He was filled with wisdom, and the grace of God was on him. Luke 2:40. The hidden room is not a delay. It's a dimension of divine reinforcement. You may feel forgotten, but have you considered that heaven often hides what hell would try to destroy too early? In this room, you're not just being protected, you're being prepared. Like an artifact too sacred to be displayed before its time, you're undergoing sacred preservation. Psychologically, this is what we call deconstruction, of the false self, the stripping away of identity built from trauma, applause, or performance. God isn't hiding you to punish you. He's stripping you to reveal who you truly are. Have you ever asked, if I were to be released too soon, would the calling elevate me or crush me? Would the platform serve my assignment or expose my fractures? God's timing is protective, not passive, and He will not release a voice that hasn't yet been fortified in the silence of surrender. He made my mouth like a sharpened sword. In the shadow of His hand He hid me. He made me into a polished arrow and concealed me in His quiver. Isaiah 49:2. Concealment in God's kingdom is not punishment, it's precision. Consider a real-life testimony of someone who lived this. Makoto Fujimura, a Japanese-American painter and cultural theologian, once withdrew for several years into solitude following deep grief and artistic burnout. During this hidden phase, he began painting again, slowly, prayerfully, using ancient Japanese techniques. What emerged was a sacred body of work called the Four Holy Gospels, now held in the Vatican and exhibited globally. In silence, he heard God's brush. In seclusion, he received divine beauty. By contrast, Bishop Carlton Pearson, once a renowned Pentecostal leader in the US, deviated from foundational truth under the weight of popularity and cultural pressure. At the height of his influence, he began preaching the gospel of inclusion, denying eternal judgment and rewriting biblical doctrine to appease public sentiment. Instead of entering the hidden room for clarity, he sought validation through crowds. The result? He lost his church, his platform, and his spiritual covering. What began as a powerful voice for revival became a cautionary tale of compromise. His anointing was genuine, but without continued submission to the refining fire, it warped into distortion. God won't let you build with spiritual glass. He is making you into unshakable stone. Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Psalm 127:1. He's forming you in the dark, because what is formed in the light of public praise too early will crack under pressure. Have you noticed the tree that grows slowest often has the deepest roots? In dendrology, this is called taproot anchoring, a structural system underground that makes the oak tree impossible to uproot, even in hurricane-force winds. That's you. The winds are coming, but your root system is being secured in silence. One night in that hidden room, Maria, an unknown midwife in rural Brazil, felt God ask her to stop preaching publicly for a season. No scandal, no drama, just silence. For 6 months she said nothing. Then one night during labor, a baby stopped breathing. She laid her hand on the child and whispered a prayer only heaven could hear. The baby gasped back to life. That night, 12 women in the village gave their lives to Christ. Her voice had not left. It had been sharpened in stillness. But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. Matthew 6:6. The hidden room is where glory incubates. One last question. Are you willing to be hidden long enough to become holy? When God sends you forth, you won't just be visible, you'll be valuable. And what comes out of you won't be noise, it'll be nectar. Your words will not merely be heard, they will heal. What you're experiencing isn't a pause, it's a preparation soaked in glory. Isolation isn't rejection, it's redirection. And if God has pulled you into hiding, it's because what's forming inside you is too holy to be exposed too soon. Don't mistake the silence as absence. Don't confuse the stillness for stagnation. The womb is quiet too, but it's where life is made. Chosen one, this incubation is sacred territory. Heaven has pulled a veil over your timeline to shield what is not yet ready to be seen. What seems slow to man is strategic to God. Just as seeds germinate underground long before they sprout, so too is your next level being formed in dimensions the human eye can't reach. You are being encoded with glory. So here's your invitation. If your spirit felt pierced by this message, go deeper. My YouTube channel is filled with divine revelations, hidden truths, and prophetic messages made specifically for those in incubation, those being set apart, those about to emerge with fire in their bones and oil on their heads. Watch the videos, let your soul be stirred, and step into your assignment fully aware and fully armed. If this word found your soul today, don't leave quietly. Like the video. Comment below with what resonated most with your spirit. Share it with someone who's been hidden and doesn't yet know why. And most of all, subscribe and turn on that bell icon so you never miss what heaven is whispering next. Every like, every share, every super thanks is not just support. It's sowing into sacred soil that helps awaken more chosen ones around the world. And to those who've already given, and those who simply stayed to the end, thank you. You are part of something prophetic, whether you realize it or not. Your silence matters, your presence is powerful, and your season of incubation will not be wasted. May God surround you in this hidden place with holy protection. May angels minister to you in your stillness. May your transformation be swift, supernatural, and undeniable. You're not staying in the cocoon forever. You're not going to emerge the same. You're going to emerge anointed. Until then, stay hidden, stay obedient, stay consecrated, because the world isn't ready for what God's been building in secret, but soon it will see.